Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a long-term review of my wife's e-bike, the Aventon Pace 500.3, or a device which I've commonly come to think of a little bit as
the Great Equalizer.
But before I jump into the long-term review of this bike, I wanted to talk a little bit about my use case, and hopefully it'll resonate with some of you. And in the event that you decide after watching this video that you might like to purchase either this bike or any bike in the Aventon lineup, please consider using the link in the YouTube description. That referral link will basically benefit the channel via a small commission at no additional cost to you. If you're like me, a lot of you may have a spouse where you ride or your significant other doesn't ride regularly. Maybe once or if you're lucky, maybe twice a year, you might get your significant other out on a bike ride for maybe like 15 miles, or if you're really lucky, 20, and you hope to goodness that you didn't tell them 15 and have it end up being 20 because you'd hear about it. Well, that certainly was the case for me. And so I long had the thought that if I might be able to convince my wife to go and take a ride on an e-bike while I was on a regular bike, that might bounce things out for us. And lo and behold, we went on vacation. We were on this little island and we passed a bike rental shop, and she noted, she said, "Hey, look, they've got e-bikes." And so we went in and I did exactly that. I said, "Why don't you take an e-bike and I'll take a regular bike and we'll see how it goes." And so we went out and we did about a 20-mile loop around this island. And along comes a hill, and she goes up the hill, and I'm not a fast climber, and so I go very slowly up the hill, and she's like, "Bye." And see, she heads on up the hill. She had a great time. And so with that in mind, I started looking at e-bikes. I'll talk in more detail about why I chose this particular bike. But in short, I'll say that my criteria that I was looking for is I was looking for something that was affordable for an occasional rider who didn't ride very often. So this was not going to be an everyday bike. It was going to be an occasional bike, but would hopefully result in getting her out to do more riding, ride more often, and ride for longer distances, sort of making it equal to what I would do. And it's resulted in exactly that. So I'll get behind the camera now and talk about why I chose for the bike of choice, the Aventon Pace 500.3. All right, guys, so the bike you see in front of you is the Aventon Pace 500.3. This bike is classified as a step-through bike. It is very much a cruiser or an upright bike, or in the style, takes inspiration. A lot of people refer to this as a Dutch style bike. And you can see when you look at it that the handlebars are above the seat, which translates to a very upright riding style, and the reach with these particular handlebars is pretty darn short. I have actually owned an e-bike in the past, and I'll say in the, I guess now 12 years or so since I've actually owned an e-bike, the thing that has gotten so much better about these bikes has been the battery life. So that's one thing that has been super impressive about this particular bike. So this bike I liked because it was very upright. It had my wife was always complaining about the kind of seat. So this has the seat which is really aimed at the occasional rider, sort of that wide seat with sort of more suspension, which really appeals to her. And of course, if you're a regular rider, you know that in the long term, that's not what you want. But if you're not someone who has ridden a lot and used to riding on a saddle, these sort of comfort saddles, if you will, are good for the occasional use rider. This particular bike is a Class 2 e-bike, meaning that it actually comes equipped with a torque sensor in the bottom bracket, which is how my wife typically rides this bike, as well as a optional throttle. So Class 1 e-bikes just have pedal assist only up to 20 miles per hour. And the Class 2 e-bikes, actually, you can add on, you have a throttle or ped assist. Actually, so it comes shipped as a Class 2 bike, but this bike via a Android or Apple app, you can actually unlock it to become a Class 3 bike, which doesn't really appeal for our purposes, but might appeal for a commuter, where you can unlock it and have it provide assistance up to 28 miles per hour. So again, by default, this is Class 2, provides assistance up to 20 miles per hour, which is more than what we really need. This has got simple shifting. It's got a 8-speed shifter, index shifter, basically up and down. So basically mountain bike style shifter. And you can see it's just got one derailleur. It's got a Shimano derailleur back here, and then no shifting in the front. And so there's a torque sensor, again, in the crank, which basically senses when you're encountering resistance and you need a little assistance, and you can employ the assistance of what makes you feel like Superman. So it is this 500 watt hub motor that is in the rear of the bike. Now, I'll say that in the early days of e-bikes, there would sometimes be a hub motor in the front. That's not a very natural action. You're not used to feeling the force of assistance coming from a front motor. So they graduated to making them in the back. And now the highest end e-bikes actually have what's called a midline motor. So it's actually in the crank area of the bike. But for a casual bike like this, I mean, I think if you were wanting a performance mountain bike, there's a really good argument for wanting a mid-drive motor. But for a casual bike like this, I would submit to you that if the torque sensor is good quality, which this one is, that a rear, a hub motor is has a very natural feel of assistance on this bike. So 500 watt being on the larger side, so I knew there would be plenty of assistance here. And then this bike will provide a rider under 175 pounds up to 60 miles of assistance. And I'll say that I've been very, very pleased. The big pro of this bike has actually been the battery life. Battery life has been outstanding. We've actually, Shannon, who's my wife, we've actually been out on rides upwards to 40 miles, and I don't think we've come much below 60% on the battery. Now there's different levels of assistance, so I'll get into that and I'll demo that for you. And she typically rides in the eco mode, which is the lowest level of assistance. To get that 60 miles of range, you would need to be a lighter rider, meaning under 175 pounds, and to also make sure that you're using the lower levels of assistance or limiting the amount of assistance you're using. Now, if you're riding on more hilly terrain, if you're a heavier rider, if you're getting more higher level assistance, or you're wanting to go a whole lot faster, all those things are going to basically shorten the amount of distance you're going to get, or assistance you're going to get. But again, we just kind of scratched the surface with regards to the usage on this. One thing that appealed to me, other than the step through, so this presents as very comfortable to a casual rider like my wife. It's actually got a kickstand integrated on it, so that appeals to her. I think it's got a mountain bike style pedal, so this is a metal pedal, and you can see these little cleats here, which helps to hold your foot in place. And that is, again, what you see like on a mountain bike style. Very nice for a casual rider. They don't have to worry about clipping in or anything like that. And then I was really drawn in part to this bike because it's a little lighter weight. E-bikes can tend to be heavy, and this one is under 60 pounds. I think it comes in at about 54 pounds, which sounds heavy, and it is, but it's light relative to a lot of beefier e-bikes. So they can get a whole lot beefier than this. I knew that her use case was likely going to be either around town, on multi-use greenway paved trails, or potentially on rail trails that were light gravel. So I thought, okay, I'd want a nice, comfortable, supple tire for her. So these are 27.5-inch tires. They are puncture resistant, and they're 2.1 inches wide. So they are plenty wide. We've actually taken them both on the new river trail, and we were actually went on some sandy trails down in Florida with this bike, including a little bit of light single track even with this bike. So it's actually performed very, very well. So again, 8-speed, different levels of assistance here, great battery life. It is got an aluminum frame. It is got the battery integrated in the down tube here. So I've never had occasion to take this off. There is a charger, and it's very much like a laptop charger. So you just plug into this little port right here. Here's the charger itself, which lives out in our garage. And when you plug the end of this end to the bike, basically it's this little light, this little A for Aventon, is red while it's charging and turns green when it's charged. And basically it like I said, it's not really much different size than a laptop charger. So very nice, very easy there. Another really nice thing about this particular bike is that it's actually got integrated lights. So it has both brake lights, and I'll demonstrate how those work. And then it's also got turn signals that are integrated in here, as well as an integrated headlight, which I think is pretty slick for a bike to have. So to turn the bike on, you basically hit the power button here and a little blue light comes on. And then you basically come up to your controller, which is right here. You press and hold the power button, which is in the center. And then the display comes on. And so you can see here that the level of assistance is currently turned off. It's got 100% battery life. And in the year or so that we've owned this bike, we've got 240 miles on the bike. And I'll say, given that my wife would typically be doing good to get her out for 20 miles a year, we've put over 10 times that amount on this bike. So that to me is a win to get her out wanting to ride a bike and having something that will make it fun for her. I'm all for it. So that is awesome. So to change the level of assistance, you basically just press up here. That there's like a plus button here, or you can go back down. So it's bi-directional. So you can go up to Eco, which is the lowest level of assistance. That's where she rides most of the time. Every now and then she'll say, oh, do you need me to go faster? She'll put it up into Tour, which is the next level up. And that's not even as high as you can go. There is a final level called Sport before it's, oh, I'm sorry. There's actually a fourth level called Turbo. So again, the levels of assistance go Turbo, down to Sport, to Tour, to Eco, or you can turn it off. And part of what I think having a lighter weight bike is that in the event that the battery would fail or go out, and that has not ever been the case for us, we've never had that issue, it would be nice to know that you can pedal the bike. So this is not a big beefy bike. Some of the bikes you see are exactly that. So they're big and they're beefy. And so I wanted something that would actually ride without assistance, very much like a bike. And I'll say there are times where my wife forgets to turn the bike on and she doesn't even realize it right away. And then she says, oh, I don't have it actually turned on, turns it on, and away she goes, with a greater level of assistance there. So, and I'll say, so again, just kind of in the realm of functionality, if I press and hold, again, the top plus button on top there, the light will come on. So here you can see the light just came on, and that is nice. One potential dislike that I have is that if you are turning the light on during the daytime, it actually tends to dim the screen. You don't have any, we're inside right now, so you don't have any problem seeing that screen right now. But in bright sunlight, it's actually a whole lot easier to see with the light off. And I think there's an argument if you're riding in traffic for being able to ride during the day. So I'll occasionally take this bike out, like to go to lunch or something, and I want the light on just for additional visibility on the road. And pretty minor complaint because that's not how we use it most of the time, but it does make it harder to read during the day if the front light is turned on. So I'll go ahead and turn that off. And then I'll show you, this is, here, I'm gonna put my hand on the brake up here, and you can see the brake back here. All I do is apply the brake, and the brake lights turn on, which is really nice. So I can actually, if I'm riding behind her, I can see when she's actually applying the brake. And then to do a turn signal, if you're riding in traffic, this is just on a timer. It doesn't actually, it's not like a car in the sense that you make a turn and then it knows you've made the turn and then it's over. This is just on a timer. So if I wanted a left-hand turn, I'd press that, and you can see the left-hand turn signal comes on, and after about 5 seconds, it'll turn off. Maybe about 10 seconds. Okay, there it goes off. So it's just literally on a timer, so you get right and left turn signals there. So there's again a lot to like about this bike. Great assistance, provides a lot of it's very upright, so it's nice for the casual rider. If anything, she can outride me now, but she's very comfortable to ride at the same pace as me, and that's got me riding. And as you have, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, it's got me riding a lot more greenways this year, because she's actually inclined to want to get out and ride more, which is again the goal here. Just to kind of talk through some potential other negatives of the bike, so try to provide a fair and balanced review about our real world experience, or things that I might do differently if I were designing this bike. There are just a small handful of things. Like I said, in total, I'm very pleased with this bike, but there are just a handful of things that I would change. And one thing is that the bike comes with Schrader tubes. At a bike at this price point, and I'll say this bike is very affordable. I'm not going to quote a price because Aventon is always running sales. If you want to know what the current pricing is, use the link in the YouTube description and head out and go take a look at this. But at a bike at this price point in the United States anyway, I'd expect to see Presta tubes here. I'll say that I'm carrying a extra Presta tube in the event that she ever gets a flat, and I'll just switch it out then. But these are puncture resistant tires, and we haven't had any need to do that. So I've just left the Schrader tubes in there for now. You can see that there's a little beefier. So this actually is going to take a wrench. We actually carry a crescent wrench on her bike for the event that I needed to take off the wheel. So there's no quick release or through axle here. It's not uncommon to see a little beefier bolt like this, I think, because of the added weight. But it would be great to see like a through axle here. Would make it easier from a bike maintenance standpoint. One thing I didn't mention is it does have hydraulic brakes, so that's nice. So really nice stopping power. Other dislikes. A couple little minor things. I will say that if you do order an Aventon bike, I would highly suggest that you order the any kind of accessories you want through them. I had hoped that I had a rack that was fits a lot of bikes and in my possession. So I got this bike, and I'd hoped that bike would work, and I kind of fiddled with it, and I probably could have made it work, but it definitely wasn't going to be elegant. So I went back and had to order. This is an Aventon rack, and it's kind of designed for their bikes. And so I would say do order their rack in the event that you want a rack. They also have fenders, and I would assume that the same suggestion would apply. So if you want, they're very vertically integrated. So if you want to get accessorized, I do heavily suggest that you get the parts through them. One thing that again, a minor nuisance, and their solution works okay, but I would have liked to have seen a built-in bolts for bottle cage, and there is not one on this bike. So if you want a bottle cage, their solution is actually a third-party solution, and I'll include a link to that in case you've got a bike that you might like to apply this to. And this is workable, but it's not like it's super, it works just fine. But it will put a water bottle in there, but it basically just goes around the down tube of the bike and kind of bolts on there. So again, third-party solution, but it is not an integrated solution. I think it would have been easy enough to have room for a bottle cage there. I think almost anybody is going to want a bottle cage. So again, those are kind of being nitpicky. Again, trying to come up with something that I think is some potential negatives about the bike. But overall, my impressions are very positive. So I'm going to hop back around here and say, again, guys, this is the great equalizer. So from my perspective, It's been really, really great to not only get my wife out, but you may have seen a series that I did on the channel this summer. I took my dad and took him for a week road trip, and we stopped every day and got out on the bike and did short bike rides on greenways, and we did it via this bike. And he really enjoyed riding that bike, and it was, again, no trouble for him to keep up with me. If anything, I was having to work to keep up with him. So again, the great equalizer. Hope you found this information useful. Certainly, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to put those. Again, if this video happened to inspire you to want an Aventon bike, please do use the link in the video description below. And again, because there'll be a small commission, which will help to benefit the work of the channel. If you're not familiar with Aventon, I'll just say in closing, in my mind, they're kind of a direct marketing brand, not unlike Canyon. So you may have, you've certainly, those of you who are regular riders will be familiar with the Canyon brand. But if you go out to rail trails and travel around like I do, I guarantee you're going to run into somebody riding an Aventon bike. I've seen them all over the eastern part of the United States, and certainly they're well beyond. One of the reasons that I went with this particular brand is not only because they are a little more affordable because of that direct marketing. They do have a relationship with a lot of local bike shops, which is nice to see. So actually, I have seen these there's an outfitter on the Gap, just as an example, who actually sells some Aventon bikes. So we have seen them a number of different places. But again, they are very well established. One of the sources that I went and read reviews and looked at reviews on, a source that's been out there for a number of years, even back when I was riding an electric bike, was called Electric Bike Report. And Electric Bike Report consistently rates this bike in particular very high, does very, very well on all their tests, which is, again, sort of the gold standard in the electric bike industry. All around, great bike. Hopefully, this will inspire some of you to either get out yourselves or get your significant other out riding with you with a little assistance from an e-bike.
As always, we hope you found this content useful. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.